Hey Starlings, Vanessa Montgomery here from Astro All-Starz. Let's talk about the Jupiter square Saturn. So Jupiter and Saturn are giving tension because they're in square. They're in square to each other, which is the most tense aspect. So the square, of course, is part of an overall signature, and this particular cycle started with the conjunction. So this is the opening square, conjunction over to the opening square. So the conjunction began, so the beginning of this particular cycle, which is a 20-year cycle, was December 21st, 2020, and they coincided, conjuncted, merged at the same degree, 0 Aquarius. So check for 0 Aquarius in your chart at the beginning of that cycle. So if you want to know more about that, I did do a full podcast on that and the history because it's really interesting. This signature is called the monarch maker, the conjunction, because it's a 20-year cycle and that tends to be the cycle of a leader, or at least back in the day. So listen to that. It's on my podcast, Astro All-Starz, December 2020. Super interesting. We get to the opening square and whatever began then, and that can be in society as well and in your life, check wherever 0 Aquarius is in your chart and what was happening there, December 2020. And now the square is at, Jupiter is at 27 Gemini and Saturn is at 27 Pisces. So they are in mutable signs. That's one thing. They're immutable signs. And the square is tense. So with Jupiter opening the square because it moves faster, Jupiter wants expansion. Saturn wants contraction. Jupiter wants just more, especially in Gemini and a mutable sign, really scatter, really a search for that search for meaning through different information, through talking, through communication. But Jupiter itself in Gemini, we've been looking at extra scattered energy, and Mars is also in Gemini at the same time, so it just heats it up, quickens the pace. It's already very quick. Gemini is such a quick air sign, so a mutable sign. So Jupiter's scattered information, the shattering of consensus reality we seem to get when planets or points go through Gemini, especially lately. And Saturn and Jupiter, they're the social planets. Saturn was the most outer planet for a long time there before we had great telescopes. So it's the planet of the end. Jupiter wants more, followed by the balance. Saturn, like, okay, what's worth keeping? They work really well together, but they are like best friends or terrible enemies because they're so opposite each other. They just really want different things, but you need each other. They need each other for balance, and we all need the archetypal themes that they speak of. So again, Jupiter expansion, wants to open and expand and get more information, more talking, more rhetoric, more everything. And Saturn wants to be like, well, what's useful? What can we take from this? I'm not going to carry this whole bag of books. Which book do we want? In Pisces, it's looking at, you look at that square between Gemini and Pisces, and I see that mutable square as it's sort of information as a way, knowing. Gemini wants to know, but rational, logical facts, like a journalist. Pisces already knows. Pisces is that underlay, the spiritual underlay, the psychic knowing, really operates in the psychic realm. It's concerned with feelings and sensitivity and loves everyone. You know, they can work together, they can be at odds. So Saturn's restricting, limitation, but on the positive, really, well, that is positive because you can't have just crazy growth. It's not possible. You need to trim, like think of trees before spring. You want to trim the trees so you get more growth and abundance. Actually, with knowledge, like doing an assignment, you need a deadline. The deadline's Saturn, and that tension of that deadline, actually, to me, that's very much the square. Absolute magic can happen in the square, but it's so painful. So the tension, frustration of Jupiter wanting to go, Saturn putting on the brake. It's like a foot on the accelerator, foot on the brake. spinning your wheels perhaps. So just look at structuring Saturn. Create a structure for the information, create a structure, choose a deadline. What else can Saturn be? It's like, yeah, that's it. You have to consolidate. You have to choose what you're going to, which book you're going to carry, which information you're going to center. Look at where 27 Pisces and Gemini are in your chart. Any planets pulled into this mix, outer planets or personal planets. If you're a Sun Gemini person, you're going to have Jupiter all over your Sun if it's a late Sun. But that also means you're picking up a square from Saturn. So have a look at all of that. If that's all a bit complex because it is the whole chart synthesis, you are welcome to schedule a reading with me or a consultation over at astroallstars.com. And I highly recommend you pick up my book, Astro Power, a simple guide to prediction and destiny for the modern mystic. It goes into the meaning of the planets. We talk about these cycles, and you'll understand a lot more when you understand the archetypes and what the planets want, how they want to serve you, get in line with that. There's certain frameworks of looking at astrology, and I've chosen one that feels really right and actually very ancient in a way that we don't think anymore, really. So Astro Power, pick it up, available anywhere online. You can ask your local bookseller to get it in for you. It won't cost you anything extra, and then you're supporting local businesses. Look at that tension between growth, expansion, faith, belief, optimism, and where you need to pull it back. Look around at the political landscape and you'll see this in motion as well. And often we see people sort of express one and someone else will express the other. So who can you see expressing Jupiter in Gemini, and who can you see expressing that Saturn in Pisces? You know, someone that's more authoritative, more respectful perhaps, if not older, then certainly wiser, someone who is ready for the job perhaps in Pisces, that is humanitarian and cares. Jupiter, remember, is in its detriment, fall. I get those two confused. So Jupiter is in fall because it actually rules Sagittarius. So in Gemini, so it rules Sagittarius, so it's feeling good up there. But when it's in the opposite sign, this is how astrology works, it functions less easily. It's harder for it to do what it needs to do. But it still needs to do what it needs to do. There's still positives, but we're more likely to get some of the negatives. And of course, the negatives we can see through a certain person. Let's say Trump, he is a Gemini, and not all Geminis, but this particular Gemini. The information, he's just spewing out lies, and it's completely scattered. It's nonsensical. It doesn't make sense. It's like he'll say anything to sort of get that growth. And we're really seeing the negative side. So there's a shadow side to everything that balances what we'll say the positive side. So very interesting to watch. I'd say Kamala, in terms of, you know, the US presidential run, is on the positive side of that Jupiter, because her and her team are picking up on memes and modern music and modern ideas, and, you know, really tapping into the youth and using spin really cleverly and well for the right reasons. Jupiter, you know, does want to do things for the right reasons, but at the end of the day, things can be misused, and that's it. So have a look into that. Listen to my podcast, schedule a reading with me, read my book, stay cosmic, and enjoy this moment of expansion, balance with consolidation. Bye for now.